Good evening, good evening. My goodness. I was reminded today of just how much toxicity there is in the world. And it was crazy. So I cracked a joke last night on somebody's. Okay, so on Facebook, now they constantly show you these they're like suggested groups, and they'll show you a post from it. And I saw a post, and somebody was kind of joking around about buying the latest greatest video card and putting in their computer. And so I just cracked a joke in the comments that I'll be praying for his power cable because yeah, they've been known to burn up on the new video cards. So just cracking a funny joke. Well, I didn't realize it was a group that I wasn't a member of or anything like that. And so it said that they had to approve it, the admins and stuff. And so that's all good. And I went ahead and, clicked to join the group and all of that because, believe it or not, I'm not a member of any PC builders groups. So, oddly enough. And so I thought, hey, I'll go ahead and join it. And because I built PCs for a long time, helped others build PCs for a long time. And so I joined the group. And this morning I was sitting here and I was thinking, I've got this CPU fan that I've fought with for like 2 years. And I just, I had the luck of the draw. I don't know of anybody else that's had a single problem with these fans, but I'm the lucky one. And so mine, after about a year and a half, 2 years, and you got to understand, I built this computer, I think in 2020. My CPU fan decides just to freeze up and not spin. And it won't do it while it's running. It's fine while it's running. It's just when I start it up in the mornings. And so, for a couple of years now, I've just been pulling, when it gets bad, I just pull it apart. And I can't get the actual fan apart, right? I can get the fan off the heatsink and all that. But I can't get the actual fan itself apart. Because the back of it, where there's normally a split washer at that you would pull off, it's solid back there. And I'm pretty sure there's a circuit board back there, so I can't just go drilling a hole. So anyway, I thought, I'm in this PC group, and, I'm getting tired of pulling this thing apart and squirting lubricant up in it and working it back and forth just to get it working again for a while. Maybe because I've looked on Google I don't know how many times and looked in forums and stuff, and nobody's ever taken the actual fan apart on one of these. So I thought, hey, I'm in a good place to ask the question. So I posted a picture of what CPU cooler I had, asked the question, and I specifically put in my post that I'm not interested about buying one or anything like that. I just want to know if anybody's taken one apart. And of course, the number one comment, the first comment that comes through was some cat telling me about how I could go to eBay and buy one. I'm like, and I replied, and I was a bit snarky. I was like, the question was, how does it come apart, not where can I buy one? Because, come on, man. And, comprehend just a little bit. I specifically said it in there in the post that I'm not interested about where I can buy one or anything like that. And, of course, I had a bunch of other people comment, well, just buy one, well, I don't have the extra money to just go buy one, And then, of course, when you try to tell people that, they're like, you mean you don't have enough money just to go buy a $25 CPU cooler? No, dumbass. Have you seen the prices of food? And man, I will tell you what, the stupid came out thick. And, man, and I tried to explain explaining to a couple of people that I enjoy fixing things. That I like to fix what I have. I don't just like to throw stuff away. That's a millennial thing. Throw stuff away and just buy something new. Homie, don't play that. My dad had me on the floor at about 10 years old or so, showing me how to take a bolt nut and 2 washers and fix a heating element in a dryer. You know, when I was younger, when I'd have an alternator go bad on the car, sure, at that time I could go to Napa or AutoZone and get a $30 replacement alternator. But that wasn't no fun. What was fun to me was to pull that damn alternator apart, find out if it was the diode bridge that went bad, find out if it was the brushes that went bad. Usually it's the diode bridge. But, you know, I would pull it apart. I would run to the local farm supply place, and I would buy new bushings for the alternator, put new bushings in it, clean up the stator with the with some sandpaper, and, you know, good to go. My dad taught me to be that way. You know, you're better off fixing what you have so you know what you got than just getting something else. And so anyway, I understand these younger generations have no concept of that. And you can't teach it to them. They are just so thick-headed. I mean, I know I was thick-headed when I was younger, but I was always anxious to learn something I didn't know, especially when it came to being self-sufficient. These youngsters, they don't want to be self-sufficient. They just want to spend, and I don't know. I'll tell you what, if this country is truly heading towards hard times, they ain't gonna make it far. They're not gonna make it far. Anyway, I figured I'd tell you about that nonsense. I was going to start out, and I've actually got something else I'm going to start out with in the plane crash, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I had actually had a video of mine from when I was flying brought up, because I was going to show you something that happened to me in the video. It was actually my worst landing ever, and I was going to apply it to the incident that happened in Toronto today. However, it has no bearing on it because they just had a press conference a little bit ago, and at least they claimed in the press conference that there were no crosswinds at the time. So, and that was going to be my whole suspicion, is that because apparently it was kind of windy conditions during the time it happened. But, you know, I didn't know the wind direction. I didn't know what runway he was landing on, meaning which direction he was landing, to know if he would have been having a crosswind. He, she, I don't know if it was male, female pilot, but apparently crosswind wasn't a factor. Let me tell you what, though. Earlier today, they had a press conference, their first one, and it was very short and sweet, and they walked right away. They didn't answer any questions. This evening, they had another press conference, again, very short and sweet, and they didn't answer any questions. And the reporters actually started to get hostile with them, and they were like, "What are you doing? You're just walking away." Because they wouldn't answer a single question or anything. I don't know, man. That sounds a little bit bizarre to me, that they wouldn't answer any questions at all. Definitely seems just a little bit out of place. But anyway, like I say, I got a couple things to show you. I got a video here for you too. I don't know how many of you would have seen this video. I'm sure you saw the video going around where the guy's outside of the plane and showing the outside of the plane, and talking about how the plane just flipped upside down. He was on it. But I've actually got a video. I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but somebody that was actually in the plane and was evacuating out of the plane and had his phone recording video. Pretty crazy. So I'm going to show you that video. But before we get to there, I want to bring up once again that I think one of the reasons behind all the rising meat costs, whether it be beef, pork, chicken, eggs, and I've said it several times, that I think they're trying to price us out of protein. It's not that they don't want us to get any protein, but they want us to get protein from eating the bugs and the lab-grown meat. And I know it sounds crazy. It does. It truly does sound bizarre. But I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Now, I started telling folks back in 2020, when the cough, cough, jab, jab started to really get going, I was telling folks then that it looked like, because of some of the patterns I was seeing, like they were trying to price us out of things. And things kind of smoothed off a little bit. However, meat never really went, I mean, the eggs went back down, but meat never really went back down as far as beef is concerned anyway. And cheap. And pork I couldn't tell you because we weren't buying it. However, Luke with We Are Change pointed out a product that is really getting pushed hard, and I mean it is being backed by a whole lot of support, and it's, in my opinion, it's just like, wow, this really does say a lot. So Luke was showing this website earlier and talking about this company, so I'm going to show it to you, and I'll let you think about it what you will. But this company called Promino, and it says right here, rethink protein. Rethink protein. Now, they don't say anything about the bugs in there. They say it's low-calorie, sugar-free. Yeah, because they use stevia leaves, so that's where the sweetener is coming from, stevia. So if you've been trying to avoid stevia, guess what? Gluten-free, because, you know, that's apparently a thing. Plant-based, right? Plant-based. It's dairy-free, no bloat, and fat-free. So, hey, this is even kosher. Plant-based. Now, I'm going to show you something very interesting here. If I go to the About page, and I scroll down, of course you see all the pictures. Wait, was it not the About page? Okay, I'm a tard. Let me try the Learn page. Yep, it's the Learn page. And check this out. The highest quality protein source in the world. And here they've got Promino formula. And they've got, 321. But look at the other things that they made sure to include. Milk, whole milk. Eggs, that is hard-boiled. Beef, whey protein isolate, and soy. So, howdy, Leo. So, they've got all of these listed. And I just find it interesting how theirs is the absolute super protein source compared to, things like beef, the cows that fart and all that terrible stuff, right? I don't know, man. I am not good with that nonsense. So I did look at ingredients, and I can't even remember. Oh, now I do. Hang on. Let me click on shop and just click on one of them. They'll have the ingredients down here. And they say citric acid, sucralose, gum, Arabic, however you say it, cellulose gum, carrot, and blackcurrant extract for color. Natural flavors. I always love the natural flavors because, that could be the bugs. Stevia leaf extract. That's what I was telling you. If you trying to stay away from sweeteners like that, it's in here. And I have no idea what this patented Promino plant-based complex is. But they got all kinds of funky names that I can't pronounce here. And I'm thinking no. So it's a definite no from me. I just wanted to make y'all aware of that. Because I really do think that one of the reasons why the prices of certain foods are so high is because they were trying to literally price us out of it. You know, if we can't afford to buy regular ground beef, if we can't afford to buy eggs or chicken or pork, well then, I guess we'll eat the bugs if we want to have protein. It is nonsense. I don't know, Leo, for sure what it is. It's apparently an effort to get us to start drinking our protein. The amount of companies and stuff, I would recommend you watch We Are Change's video from earlier today, because he covers it pretty well, going into all of the different backers of it and all of that. I mean, it is crazy the amount of companies that's behind it. And so when that many companies and that much money gets put behind a particular product, it always kind of piques my interest. And, Luke made mention of it, and I thought, yeah, that's probably something important to mention. So I wanted to mention it here. Onto this plane crash. Wow. First off, I have to say, absolutely incredible that there was not one single fatality. The numbers have been jumping around all day as far as those that have been injured. Now, the last I heard, even though I've seen other reports on this, is that there is no one in critical condition. Yet I saw a number of times earlier that there were 3 people in critical condition, and what I'm trying to think of the word they use. Basically, a young kid. Then there was an adult male and an adult female, I think. But now they say that there are no now on, and right here on RT. Sorry for jumping on, but RT says it right here. One of those injured is in critical condition. So I don't know on this. The numbers have been jumping around. The amount of critical people have been jumping around. What I do know is it's absolutely amazing that they are all still alive. 80 people total on board. And every one of them are alive. I can't even begin to speculate on what happened. My thought was initial thought was it got hit by a crosswind, because it would appear that neither wing is on the aircraft. And so my initial thought was, got hit by a crosswind, one of the wings dug in, and that would have caused the plane to kind of, could have ripped the wing off and caused the plane to kind of cartwheel or catapult, and that could have taken the other wing off, and then it could have absolutely landed on its top and slid down the, whether it's on the runway or what. But apparently that's not what kicked it all off. So I have no idea. I find it very interesting how they would not answer any questions. Just odd. And maybe they're different that way up in Canada. But here, typically they'll stick around and they'll answer a few questions. They absolutely weren't having that in Canada. So anyway, again, I am just pleasantly surprised and amazed that all 80 people on board made it out. And that's great. And you know what? It says a lot about the safety of aircraft. Look, the DC incident, when you got a helicopter, a military helicopter broadside you in a commercial jet, there's not much that you can do with that. Some of the other incidents, like the medevac plane in Philadelphia, again, not much you can do with that. Just the other night, there was a caravan, Cessna 208, that was being ferried to another airport. I guess the next day some skydivers were going to go skydiving, and the plane just went down, and nobody really has any clue of what happened. And that was pretty much a straight down event from what they were saying by the impact and debris field. Safety only goes so far. But from the fact that an aircraft, a commercial jet, can literally be on its top and have everybody walk out of it, I think that says boatloads about how safe these aircraft are. They truly are. They truly are. There are a lot of individuals that walk away from ultralight crashes and stuff because the aircraft are built as safe as what they can build them. I mean, if you lawn dart into the ground, there's not much that's going to help you. But in many cases, if you can kind of just bounce on the ground a little bit and slide along, many cases you'll survive it. And it's just incredible. I've got a video here. Let me bring it up. I'm gonna take you over to that full screen so you can get a good look at the video. And this is a gentleman inside the aircraft that was evacuating out of it, and I guess recording on his phone at the time that he was.
Everything, drop it. Come on. Don't take your video. Put that phone away. No.
Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Oh my fucking god. Yo, I was just on this fucking plane. Oh my god. Yo, I was just on this fucking plane. Holy fuck.
I mean, that's pretty damn crazy to me. But our hats off to the crew of that airplane, because as you see there, the crew went through the same thing that the passengers did, and as you see there, they stood firm to do their jobs, do it to the best of their ability, and in my opinion, that is a testament to the crew of airlines. And it's nothing new. Those folks are quite often heroes in bad incidents. So, again, I'm just thankful that there were no lives lost. Do I think there's anything because there's so many airplane crashes lately and all of that? No, there's no conspiracy going on. There's nothing. It's just, one thing is, the media is hypersensitive to airplane incidents right now. So, like the aircraft up in Alaska, that was also a caravan, Cessna 208, and unfortunately 10 people lost their lives in that. Normally, that happened up in Alaska, normally you probably would have never heard about it. It definitely wouldn't have made national news. Same as the incident in Florida, where the gentleman was by himself in a 208. Normally you probably wouldn't have heard about that. It would have been local news, and that would have been about it. But since the incident in D.C., the incident in Philadelphia, and the other incidents that happened right along with it, the media is going to be hypersensitive. So even some of the smaller airplane incidents that you would normally not hear about, you're going to hear about. So that's part of it. But there is without a doubt, I mean, you can't argue that there is an uptick in aviation incidents, especially when it comes to the larger commercial aircraft. So I don't think there's anything particular behind it whatsoever. It's just a bad time for aviation. I mean, that's about all you can mark it up to. So have a sip of coffee real quick. Boy, this ordeal with what J.D. Vance had to say in Munich is really stirring up a fuss, isn't it? I saw it when he did it. I saw it live. And I was just kind of like, hell yeah. You know, I mean, because he pretty much described how Americans feel about freedom of speech. And to me, what was shocking was the response. And I mean the immediate response of the people right there in the same room with him. He talked about the shared values that we had, meaning us in the EU, about the freedom of speech and democracy, and the people weren't having it. They were not happy with his statements. And as if that wasn't telling enough, the ending of that security conference says it all. And I've got an article about that. Let me have a sip of coffee and a vape real quick. Good stuff. I'm still doing my half dripper, half tank kind of thing. I've got a little bit left in the tank, and I'm just going to drip the rest of it. So then I'll re-wick it. That's the first time I've ever wicked this thing wrong. So I don't know what I did, but I did something. I mean, I know what I didn't do. There was one thing that I did not do. And that is, I normally take my little ceramic tweezers and I fluff up the cotton before I tuck it down into the little spot that it goes. And I did not fluff up the cotton. And, you know, I don't know. That's the only thing I didn't do. That's the only thing different than any other time I've done it. So, yeah, tomorrow when I re-wick it, I'm definitely fluffing the cotton. I'm usually pretty good at this stuff. Been doing it for a little while, though. Okay. So, got an article here. I know, surprise, surprise. Munich Security Conference chief cries for rules-based order. And I mean, I'm not saying cries as in exclaims. I'm saying as in he was bawling and crying. And it absolutely stuns me. So I'll read the article. It says the chairman of the Munich Security Conference wept over the need to preserve rules-based order while delivering its closing remarks to the event on Sunday. Rules-based order. Seems like there was a guy with a funny mustache that felt a lot that way. Former German ambassador to the U.S., Christoph Husgen, I don't know how his name's said, stepped down as MSC chair and handed the role to former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. In his final address on Sunday, Husgen acknowledged the impact of explosive comments made by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and lamented, "We must fear that our common value base is no longer so common." Right? That is mind-blowing. So the whole idea of democracy and freedom of speech and all that apparently is no longer so common with the EU. That's eye-opening. And I've got a few concerns/comments about the future of that. Goes on to say Vance criticized EU and UK politicians for upholding old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, accusing them of failing to respond to the constituents. He warned that if this trend continues, there is nothing America can do for you. It is clear that our rules-based international order is under pressure, Hushkin stated, noting that while this order is easy to destroy, it's much harder to rebuild. Really? He urged Western officials to remain committed and praised Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky as a defender for the Western way of life. Now that is freaky. Zelensky, a defender of the Western way of life? Zelensky's not even a legitimate president right now. He canceled the elections. He shouldn't even be in office right now. That is the Western way of life? Christoph Hushkin delivered his closing remarks at the 2025 Munich Security Conference. And you notice how they had a little copyright thing or something there? Munich Security... Oh, wait, never mind. That was the caption for the picture. I'm a tard. As Hushkin spoke about the perceived decline of the world order, his emotions nearly brought him to tears, which led him to cut the speech short. The audience responded with a standing ovation. "Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Why don't you come back out with a dress on or something?" Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova dismissed Hushkin's speech as the climax of a kids' party at a mental ward. I'd say pretty close. She took issue with the historic parallels drawn by several EU officials between the current situation and the 1938 Munich Agreement, where the UK and France acquiesced to Nazi Germany's annexation of Czechoslovakia. Which, by the way, you don't call it that to a Czech because they will correct you really quick. It's Czech. I have a friend Jerzy that's actually from Czech, and one of the first times I was talking to him, because you tell me you're from somewhere different like that, the first thing I'm gonna do is start asking you what it's like, because I'm interested, And I was like, how is Czechoslovakia? He's like, it's not Czechoslovakia, it's Czech. Anyway, it says the EU's message was that appeasement of Adolf Hitler was a grave error, and similarly, there should be no appeasement of Russian President Vladimir Putin, a sentiment Hushkin encapsulated by stating Putin smells weakness, he only reacts to strength. Zakharova reminded readers on Monday that Putin had famously cautioned the 2007 Munich Security Conference about the dangers of NATO expansion and disregarding other nations' interests. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump aims to swiftly end the Ukraine conflict, ostensibly by getting European countries to manage security after a truce with Russia is established. EU officials have criticized Washington for seemingly sidelining Kiev and Brussels in its discussions with Moscow. Now, there's a lot of there's a lot of kind of fear mongering going on right now about EU is going to put troops, UK is going to put troops. And I just want to take a step back and say that there was no mention of just throwing troops in Ukraine. First, there has to be a ceasefire agreement reached. There has to be a ceasefire, and they will be there for security guarantees and peacekeeping operations. So before people get all freaked out about UK troops or any other troops going there, you need to understand that. Also, the one thing I don't hear people here freaking out about is that it's even been mentioned that the U.S., again, after a ceasefire, that the U.S. may send troops to guard the rare earth minerals. And that's nothing new. We've guarded oil fields and even poppy fields for a long damn time. So that's nothing new. I wouldn't let that get anybody all freaked out. My biggest concern about all of this is that I wholeheartedly believe that if Germany and the EU continue down this path of censorship and dictatorship-like control, because that's what Zelensky's acting right now. I mean, he's acting like a dictator. And here you've got this cat saying that, what was the word that he used? It's absolutely insane. A defender of the Western way of life. And he's acting like a dictator. I would venture to say if they keep going down this same path, that it will be the less and less that the United States will want to have anything to do with them. And if the United States says, hey, we've had enough, and pulls out of NATO and no longer has any intent to help protect the EU, then things might get a little interesting over there. They just might get, especially if they keep poking Putin. So I think a lot of things could go wrong really quick, especially if we pull out of NATO. Because I have a feeling that the rest of those nations will continue NATO, even though North America won't really be a part of it much anymore. I mean, Canada might. But I think that, I think what would happen is there would be no pushback on their nonsense, and they would just double down on Putin. And I think that would bring mass instability, and that's not necessarily a good thing for them, and may not be a good thing for us, because we might get drug into it before it's all said and done, for one reason or the other. That's the other thing. Trump isn't going to be in office forever. So even if we would pull back and something would get started over in the EU, even if we refrain from getting involved over the next 4 years, it doesn't mean that the next person that gets in office wouldn't jump right in. Because we damn well know that Biden would have jumped right in. So something just to kind of keep track of. So, coffee time. Got 4 more articles left. 2 of them are Zelensky, and then the other 2 are Musk and Doge. So, got a funny meme. As far as that's concerned, let me find it here. Here it is. There it is. Think on that for a little bit. Let that sink in. Okay. It's just funny. Musk has the money and knows the people that if he was malicious, there wouldn't be a damn thing we could stop from him finding out anything and everything as far as our personal information. So it's just all silly to me to begin with. That's not what he's doing. But boy, I'll tell you what, the left is sure beating that drum. It's crazy. Hang on. I got a drip. Telling you, it's half dripper, half RTA. Nothing like the taste of not burnt cotton. Alright. So, the entire step of the way so far, pretty much Zelensky has been, and the EU, has been pushing back on what Trump is trying to get done. And I talked about it a little bit yesterday, that Zelensky's all pissed off because, he's not invited to these current talks and all that. Well, that's not how it works anyway. And if he was actually a leader of a country, he would understand that. But he's not a leader of a country. He's just acting leader. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. And he would know that ceasefires don't happen by putting the two warring individuals in the same room to start out negotiations. That's just nonsense. It never goes down like that. So he's all pissed off. Because you got to understand, he's got, a lot of Western nations that are kind of egging him on. And he's saying he refuses to recognize Russia-U.S. talks. I'll tell you what, he's going to fall. If he keeps up, he's going to fall. If Trump just walks away, pulls all support, that's not going to end well for Zelensky. And I'm just saying this. This is me saying this. But I do believe that if Russia and the U.S. came up with something that seemed like it was a pretty fair deal, and he kept screwing around and rejecting it, I could see Trump turning around and saying, whatever happens, happens. And I do think if it got to that point, I think basically right now the only thing keeping Zelensky alive is the United States. And I think if he pissed off Trump bad enough that Trump turned his back, I think Putin would actually go after him, Zelensky. So, and if not Putin, maybe his own people. Because I'll tell you what, I think there's a whole lot of people that's had enough. A whole lot of Ukrainians, both military and civilian, that's pretty much had enough of Zelensky. But anyway, this goes on to say Kiev will not recognize any agreements that could be reached between Russia and the U.S. during talks in Saudi Arabia, Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky told journalists on Monday. The Ukrainian government will only acknowledge negotiations that involve Kiev's representatives, he added. That's not how it starts out, homie. Russia and the U.S. have begun preparations for a meeting between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump that is scheduled to take place in Saudi Arabia. On Monday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov announced that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Yuri Ushakov, Putin's top foreign policy aide, would travel to Riyadh to meet a U.S. delegation and lay the groundwork for a presidential meeting, because that's how these things happen. Ukraine will not take part in the talks, Zelensky told journalists, commenting on the development. Kiev knew nothing about Moscow and Washington's plans, although they told him, He stated, adding that Ukrainian government would treat any talks about Ukraine without Ukraine as null and void and would not recognize their results. Okay, good luck. I don't think he understands how this works. And again, he's not really a leader of a nation. He's a puppet. He was put there. And I think he was put there because he's an idiot. I really do. They needed a puppet, and he makes an awful good puppet. So real quick, got this one here. Zelensky had an hour to agree to U.S. rare earths deal, says an economist. So this is, Trump trying to work with Zelensky as to how they're going to repay the some $500 billion or whatever. I think they're saying that we gave them between weapons and money like $300 billion or whatever. I guess maybe the $500 billion is interest added. I don't know. But this here says U.S. gave Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky just an hour to agree to a proposal granting Washington access to the country's rare minerals, the Economist has claimed, citing sources. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent presented the deal during a visit to Kiev last week. According to the outlet, Zelensky expected the meeting to focus on continued financial support. Yeah, just what are you going to give me? But instead, Bessent demanded that Ukraine grant the United States access to its entire reserves of critical resources. Hey, the free ride's over with, buddy. Trump is not Biden, and he ain't gonna have the nonsense that went on before. It's crazy before, because if we would deny F-16s or HIMARS or what have you, Zelensky would throw a fit like a kindergartner. I mean, he would. And he would start bashing the nations and their leaders, including Biden and the United States. He did it so many times, I couldn't tell you how many times he did it. It was mind-blowing to me. Any nation with a backbone at all would have walked away with him and said, well, then fine. You deal with it. But Biden didn't. Biden just kept sending more money, sending more weapons, and giving him what he wanted. Crazy. Says earlier this month, U.S. President Donald Trump said that he had demanded the equivalent of $500 billion worth of rare earths from Ukraine in exchange for what he estimated to be more than $300 billion Washington has provided to Kiev since the escalation of the conflict with Russia in 2022. Zelensky declined Bessent's proposal, deferring further discussion to the Munich Security Conference, The Economist wrote. However, at the event on Saturday, Zelensky again refused to sign the deal, which reportedly grants the U.S. rights to 50% of Ukraine's mineral reserves, telling reporters that it was not ready yet. He is seeking a better deal, according to Financial Times. Okay. You're probably not going to shortchange Trump. I'm just saying. Like, out of anybody that I can think of that could rule this country, or not rule a country, but be president, he's the last one that I think it's going to allow you to shortchange him. So, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for Trump to look at Zelensky and say, you're fired. I don't know. Maybe that's coming up. But I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. Okay. A couple more articles, both to do with Musk, but that means I got to have just a sip of coffee and a couple of vapes. We're union around here. No. Small union. Going on strike gets me nowhere. Oh, man. Yeah. I've heard about this, the headline here, sooner than today. Because I know that people's heads have been exploding. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't get it, you know? When you've got people that are doing everything that the people of this nation have wanted them to do, like, as far as I can remember, and then you got a bunch of people that are degrading them and demanding they stop doing it, it just really blows my mind. I don't understand how out of touch these folks are. You know, all of their questions and concerns, and look, it's not that I trust necessarily anything the government says. However, it has been explained to them, or attempted to, a number of times. Folks, undeserving folks, aren't going to have to worry about things. You know, elderly people that are on Social Security, they don't got to worry. Disabled people on Social Security, they ain't got to worry. That's not what they're after. But see, here's the thing, and here's why there's so much hysteria. The hysteria is being propagated by politicians. And the politicians are lying, misleading, and doing everything they can do to scare the hell out of their constituents. And they got the constituents thinking that Musk is Satan. And that he's going to take anything and everything good away from the public. And that's not even remotely what they're doing. But these politicians are really hammering it down. You know, I really do think that there needs to be something put, some kind of a law put in. You know, look, we have to protect freedom of speech for the citizens of the nation at all costs. That's, you know, doing anything to impede free speech, free press, freedom of religion, that's a no-go. However, as at least I have seen throughout history, and I'm talking history books and whatnot, it has always been a commonality that elected officials, public officials, are to be held at a higher standard. I don't think that politicians should be allowed to intentionally mislead and fearmonger and scare people. I think that these politicians that are doing this, I think there should be repercussions. I don't think they should be afforded the same free speech that the citizens are. The reason they're doing this, the new fogger vapes, I'll have to look it up. Is that the actual name of them, fogger vapes? I'll have to check it out. They're doing this to protect themselves. Sweet. Hang on, let me throw that in right now, or else I will absolutely forget, brother. I'll just put in fogger vapes. And I'll just leave it open in the window. Winder. Oh, fogger is in F-O-G-E-R. Okay, got it. I'll check it out after a bit. So, the reason they're doing this is to protect themselves. And they know damn well that if Doge does enough digging, they're going to unveil a ton of corruption. And a lot of that corruption is going to lead right back to them. Like Maxine Waters is freaked out. I mean, she is freaked out. And it's very telling. It is very, very telling. Um, it blows my mind that there's any Americans that don't want to get to the bottom of the corruption and the wasteful spending and all of that. I mean, I guess those folks are okay with all the taxes they're paying. I guess those folks are okay with being massively in debt, and not only them, but their kids and their grandkids and on and on and on are massively in debt because of the nonsense that's going on. I guess they're okay with that. Nah, I place a lot of this blame squarely on the shoulders of the politicians that are fear-mongering the hell out of them. It's crazy. So anyway, push button push. Musk Doge seeking access to IRS taxpayer data, says the media. And this just came out on RT today, but I've been hearing about it. Hang on. Telling you, this wicking job really sucks this time around. Coils won't fire right. I'll get her fixed, though, once I re-wick it. Elon Musk Department of Government Efficiency is seeking access to a highly secured Internal Revenue Service system that stores the personal tax records of millions of Americans, according to media reports. The examination of the IRS system, first reported by the Washington Post on Sunday, represents the latest move by Musk-led Doge to overhaul U.S. government agencies in a bid to eliminate wasteful state spending. The IRS systems house private financial data for taxpayers, including tax returns, Social Security numbers, addresses, banking details, and employment information. The integrated data retrieval system used by IRS employees enables the review of tax information, issuance of notices, and updating of taxpayer records. Doge software engineer Gavin Kliger already worked at IRS headquarters on Thursday, the outlet reported, citing people familiar with the matter. He is set to serve as a senior advisor to the acting commissioner, though the tax agency is still finalizing details of his role. According to the report, Kliger is expected to have broad access to IRS systems. However, as of Sunday, he had not yet gained access to sensitive tax agency data. Waste, fraud, and abuse have been deeply entrenched in our broken system for far too long. It takes direct access to the system to identify and fix it, White House spokesman Harrison Fields told the Post. Doge remains committed to exposing fraud, ensuring that Americans are informed about how their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent by the government, he said. Last week, Musk also alleged that federal workers were defrauding taxpayers. We do find it rather odd there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy that have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000 but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, Musk told reporters while in the Oval Office with U.S. President Donald Trump. We're just curious as to where it came from. So, and that really is the long and the short of the situation. But get this. You would think that all of the stuff that they have already unveiled and told the public about would be enough to quieten down the constituents on the left, right? But see, they can't hear it because the politicians on the left are screaming so loud, and the fear-mongering is just dripping off of everything that they're saying. So, unfortunately, the Democrats, or at least some Democrats, they can't hear it. It's like there's a big firewall in front of the truth, and they can't hear it. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad whenever you have results like this. Musk alleges biggest fraud in U.S. history. And it says right here, the number of people receiving Social Security payments exceeds the number of American citizens, the billionaires claim. Now, you don't have to be a math genius. You don't have to go back to algebra and trigonometry to understand that if there are more people on the Social Security payment system than there are American citizens, something doesn't add up there. And then when you add to it the fact that not even close to all American citizens are receiving Social Security to begin with, it's very telling. It says here the U.S. Social Security Administration has come under fresh scrutiny by Elon Musk, the billionaire head of the Department of Government Efficiency. The X and SpaceX CEO has accused the agency of massive fraud. Earlier this month, Musk claimed that a cursory review of the Social Security records by his department had found that the safety net program is paying benefits to 150-year-olds. Pretty amazing stuff. The businessman noted that many entries listed for Social Security recipients had no identifying information. So, and let me be clear. Oh God, I sounded like Obama. Not all of this is like fraud of government. Okay, you absolutely have family members and stuff like that out there that are doing everything they can to collect in a deceased loved one's name. It happens all the time, and once in a while you actually see people get caught doing it. So I would say that probably at least half of the situations where the 150-year-olds are still getting a Social Security check is going to be fraud from we the people. But I bet damn well the other half is fraud from government. So, and that's all Musk wants to do. He wants to get to the bottom of it. Because every penny we pay in tax dollars gets used up for these programs. And this is what I see. This is what I see. The cost of living has grown exponentially. And I honestly feel that if they could clear up so much of this debt issue, that there's a fairly good chance the people that are currently and legally on these safety net programs might get a little bit more. I know damn well that there are a whole lot of people that are on Social Security that deserve a little bit more. Especially those that have busted their asses their entire damn life and made it to that retirement age and are fighting to make it, can't afford everything, can't afford their rent and food and medicine, and yet they busted all of their asses all of their life with that promise from the government that we got you. You pay a little bit in out of your paycheck, every paycheck, and we got you. And it's a complete scam. Because if you do the math, just use, average life expectancies and whatnot. If you do the math on what you pay in Social Security and what you actually get back, if you retire at the right time, if you live to the average life expectancy, you're getting screwed over royally. And that isn't right. That isn't right one bit. I've done a lot of thinking about this whole Social Security thing. I've also done a lot of thinking about the healthcare thing. And I really do think that on both accounts, there needs to be an account with the government set up that as you work, there's money that goes into both of those accounts. One of them for health care, one of them for essentially like a retirement. But I think it should be a 100% for 100% thing. Every dime that you put in, you should be able to get back. And it's not that way. It's not even close to that way. They're not even trying to get it that way. And of course, the health insurance thing isn't even remotely that way to begin with. But something's got to be done. I don't, something needs certainly to be done with health care, and I don't have any real good answers there either, because I understand all sides of this argument. And the last thing that I expect is you to have to pay for my dumbass smoking most of my life and having COPD. You shouldn't have an extra burden on you to take care of me because I was an idiot. And the same goes true with any aspect of healthcare. If somebody shoves Twinkies and Ho-Hos in their mouth all day long and give themselves diabetes and all kinds of other things, people who try to eat healthy, try to do the right things, unlike me, shouldn't have to take on that extra burden. I get that. I feel that. Right? We shouldn't all be punished for the mistakes of others or for the bad behaviors of others. That's not cool. But there has to be an answer. And I think that's a good start. But the problem is, if they would even start it, I'm sure probably the promises of Social Security started out that way. Pretty much penny for penny, everything you put in, you'll get back. And what's it turned into? I don't know what the hell that thing is now, but it isn't what they were promised whenever they signed up for that. So, I don't know. But I support Trump and Elon in getting to the bottom of what's going on. And I hope they're allowed to continue to get to the bottom of what's going on. And I hope they can fix it. So I'm not concerned at all as far as worried about elderly and disabled. I'm not concerned at all. They're not after that. And I don't see in any way, shape, or form that they're trying to be after that. They're going after the waste, fraud, and abuse, which doesn't concern the people that are legally, lawfully, and rightfully on safety net programs. But I think there's a lot of politicians, probably both on both sides of the aisle, that have been part of the fraud of government tax money for a very long time. And those are the people that you see right now that are screaming and raising hell and trying to scare the hell out of the American people. I really hope that there are investigations that yield results and that we get to see some of these people not only taken out of office, because some of them, for some reason, can't be unelected. They always seem to get in regardless, and I always think that's a little bit odd. Everybody's got their eye on the presidential election. Not so many people watch state elections and, House of Representatives and all that. And I think there's a whole lot of cheating going on. That's how you get these people that just seem to be their career politicians. They're like literally there until they're closing them up in the coffin. I hope that some of these people get caught up in the fraud investigations, and not only is it a matter of not, getting them not elected, but it, be more of a matter of them being put away and something being done about it. I don't know the details of this. I'm going to get off here in just a minute. But I will say I watched a video today of former governor of Illinois, Pat Quinn. Now, can't say I'm a fan of the guy, but he was talking something today about heading a committee or getting a committee going, something to that effect, of looking into the massive corruption here in the state of Illinois. And so we'll have to see what happens with that. Because, of course, we had Madigan finally getting in trouble for all the nonsense that they were involved in. And hopefully Pritzker gets caught up in his nonsense as well. And so I really hope this thing that Pat Quinn was talking about, I really hope it leads to something. All we can do is sit back and kind of see at this point. But anyway, that's what I've got for you this evening. Just kind of keep an eye out. Hang on tight. Keep all your hands and legs inside the car, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen on this ride. So, anyway, I am out of here. I hope you all have a blessed night. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow with even more nonsense. And I will see you all then. Shalom.